So, like, man, go ahead and introduce yourself, man. Let people know who you are.
Jeremy, I appreciate you for having me on the show. Viewers, Brian Richardson Jr. I am the inaugural director for diversity, equity, and inclusion for the Indianapolis Colts.
Yes, sir, man. That's amazing. Strong name, man. I'm proud of the things that I know that's gonna come. Not what you're doing now, but the things that are gonna come. So we can go and get started on how your week was, man.
And things were good,
Mm.
productive. I'm in the second month in the role now, still trying to figure out what's the lay of the land, and meeting as many folks as I can, man. So things have been really good.
All right, man. That's a blessing. That's amazing, man. We'll start this thing off, man. So my first question is, man, how was undergraduate, man? How was it like, far as your football time, culture of the campus, things of that nature? How was it?
Yeah. So I went to a small liberal arts institution, Culver Stockton College. I think at the time there were like 800 of us at the school, and the minority numbers were much smaller. Right? So I think like 45 of us on the football team. As far as Black men, there were another 5 Black women on the campus at the time. So you appreciated the community that you did have, and I knew coming into an environment like that I would be the first Black person that many of my classmates would meet. So I faced a lot,
Right.
but I also went into that knowing some of the difficult situations or conversations that would be had, right? Like my coach, his philosophy when he recruited us was, I want to produce good, high quality, high character people. So when all my players graduate, I want to produce good fathers, good role models, good husbands, good people in the community. And when you're coming here, you're more than an athlete. We're going to play ball. We're going to take care of business, but you'll also have an opportunity to do other things. So one of his other expectations was that all of his players sit in front of the class. And on the first day, first week, you make that connection with your faculty member. Mm-hmm. And I will remember being in front of the class, answering questions and participating, like students do in classroom settings. But to be asked, why are you participating? Why do you speak so properly? How many grills do you have? How many baby mamas do you have? How many times have you been to jail? And it's like, what? What is this? Little do you know, I was an academic All-American before I was ever All-American on the field. Right? So these preconceived notions that were out there about us. And I took it as a personal challenge of, I was brought here to play ball, but that wasn't the only reason that I came. I was also on an academic scholarship. Right. So when you see me, if I'm the first Black person that you meet, I'm gonna challenge everything that you think about us. So now when you have those moments and you meet another person of color, you'll pause and say, maybe I should get to know this person before having these preconceived notions or acting on them. Or when they go back home over the holidays and with family members and they're having these conversations that happen around table settings, that they'll then pause because they'll have met someone who's at least humanized it for them to say, hey, I know somebody that doesn't fit this mold that you're talking about. So to make these overarching generalizations of people isn't true, right? And that's what I wanted to do. So while I was there, man, took advantage of the college opportunities. Played ball, was an RA, was president of the Black Student Union, rechartered Kappa Alpha Psi, Eta Kappa chapter, so things are well, man. I had a good experience, and I think it really laid the foundation for me where I had an opportunity to merge some passions and build some foundation for where I am now, of showing me I can live the life and playing ball and live the athlete, receive my bachelor's degree in sports management from there. But I also started to learn, don't get put in one specific box. Right. Make yourself well-rounded. Get a little bit of knowledge and exposure here. Find out the things that you like, find out the things that you don't like. And kind of going back to the story that we talked about before of, so many people ask, what do you want to be when you grow up? And I've developed my counter to that conversation, or to that question rather, to say, do you know what it is that you don't want to do? You know what it is that you don't want to be? And in undergrad, I found that out through job shadowing conversations with mentors and other people who are in different positions, seeking out roles and experiences to find out, yeah, this ain't really what I wanted to do, or this ain't the route that I should be taking. Um, so my college experience, while I was, one of few on campus, um, it taught me a lot of life lessons and some valuable, gems to take on. I had a conversation with an older gentleman who graduated back in the 50s. And I remember him coming back from homecoming, and I asked him, how did you make it? Like, if there's so few of us here right now, how'd you make it? And he told me something that stuck with me to this day, of learning how to be comfortable in uncomfortable situations. That as you continue to matriculate up the ranks, whether it's through academics, whether it's in the professional ranks, you start to see less and less people that look like you.
Right.
So the more that you can find yourself taking value in controlling where you are, and staking your place where you are, to say, hey, I'm here for a purpose, not to fit quotas, not to be tokens, but more so, I deserve to be in this room. And my presence will be felt, right? So I'm here to prove points to myself, and I'm gonna show you all that I'm capable of being here and that I'm a valuable asset. Once you can start to learn those things, then you'll learn how to be comfortable in those uncomfortable moments. And I found that to be true over the course of my career, that I continue to be, one of the few in the room, but knowing that when I speak in those rooms, my voice is going to have some weight behind it. There'll be some experiences, and it'll come from a place that wants to see change, and is willing to, do the things that needs to be done. So that's a little bit of my undergraduate experience.
I like that, man. I like that because, I mean, like you said before, a lot of that tie into me as well. I went to a HBCU, but I also got to go to a PWI, and some of those same things happened in some of my classes that made me look like, hey, maybe I should have stayed at Clark. Like, what's going on? Like, and having those experiences helped me with what I do now as a developer, man. Like, some of the time when I first started, a lot of stuff bothered me, stuff like that. But I had like a mentor, I would say, and my cousin, I would ask him, he was like, look, man, you asked for this. Like, hey, just go in there, be yourself. But don't adhere and make them think they know who you are. Let them know who you are, type thing. So that I keep that with me, man. And like, I've been doing good since that time of like just growing from it, stuff like that. But it's an amazing journey.
It is, man. Representation is important. Like, you being in those spaces, that was important.
Yes.
Right? That we find ourselves standing on the shoulders of those who paved the way for us to make it to these spaces. Right. And I found myself in any role just being a part of that process. That it's my job to continue to push forward. So when I was an undergrad, it's to make it a better experience for those who are going to come after me. And none of the work that I do is about me, more so recognizing that I'm in the moment. And if I have the means or the ability to bring awareness to, or to create some change, to make it a better experience for people who are coming after me, that's what I was supposed to do.
I respect that. I respect that, man. So like, what made you want to go get your master's, in kinesiology? What pushed you to do that after, like undergrad? Like, how did that decision go?
Man, it's a funny story, man. Like, I had no interest in pursuing education after my bachelor's degree until my senior year. So for the previous 3 years, we have been trying to reestablish Kappa Alpha Psi. And then a fella came in, and he was a member of the organization, and learned of our interests. And from there, him taking a position at our school, first of all, it increased the representation of minority professionals on campus. So we already was just going to link up with him because of who he was. Like, oh, you're a Black guy, you work here.
Right.
Like, and you're young too, so I should just get to know you. And we connected, man. And from him, it really allowed me to humanize a lot of things, to demystify some things that I put on pedestals. So first generation college student from a single parent household, there was a lot that I didn't know, particularly around pursuits for additional education. I had no idea what the process looked like. I didn't know what questions to ask. And I also had a lot of thoughts of Well, to get your master's degree, you have to be the most intellectually sound person. You got to be in your 30s, super expensive. And then you battle with all of that self-doubt of, oh, maybe I'm not smart enough to pursue that. I don't have the money to get involved in higher education. Like,
Right about that.
I got that money. Like, where will find that? Like, can you get financial aid for that? Like,
This.
right. So it's trying to figure out that whole process. It just seemed that it was so unattainable. And then when I met him, he was around 24, 25. He had a master's degree. He spoke like me. And I said, wow, like if you have one, not diminishing his intelligence or anything like that, but you just like me.
Right.
If you got one,
same person.
then I know I could get it. I could do that. And it took someone who had been there before to say, hey, here are the things that you need to do if you're interested. It's not a hard process. And I didn't apply for graduate school until April of my senior year, and I graduated in May.
Oh, wow. But hey, you did it, though.
I did. And it was almost like everything fell in place. So I went to Southern Illinois University in Edwardsville, SIUE, Cougars. But it wasn't just me. My line brother went and my cousin. So the three of us graduated together from Culver, all went into the kinesiology program, all graduated with our masters in kinesiology at the same time. So we came as a cohort together. We had that built-in support. And it was thanks to my line brother who told me, like, hey, saw you it's up the street. Here's the requirements for the application. We all have a lot of experience from all the multiple hats that we've done, that we've worn at Culver. We all should just apply, see if we get in there.
Yes, sir.
We all got accepted. And we had that support built in. Had a graduate assistantship in campus recreation and club sports. So I was essentially doing what I wanted to do when I graduated. So had those dreams and aspirations, just like any athlete. I want to make it to the league.
Right.
And had a couple of cousins who were blessed and had the opportunity to pursue that. And I saw that experience through their eyes. I try to live vicariously through other people to see how things kind of plan out. Not saying that their results will be mine, but more so I've seen people who've been in these roles. I know how things can play out. So my senior year, had a chance to go to the Canadian League, or talk to some Canadian League scouts. I went to the Senior Bowl, and I was faced with that thought of, do I pursue the dream, trying to go play ball, be a professional athlete, or do I fall back on already being accepted into grad school and explore this as an option? And for me, it was more of, I want to do something that's going to have more stability and some security behind it. And that was the grad school route. I'd be young, have a master's degree, and that in itself would open doors.
Right.
If I wanted to, I always could play ball. Right? Like, I can always try to find some workouts to do. But I want to have this, to have that cushion to fall back on if I ever need it. And I told myself, if I'm not going to play ball, then what can I do? I'll stay in the sports realm because I still love sports and passionate about it. So my master's degree is in kinesiology with an emphasis on sport and exercise behavior, with a concentration on sports psychology, right? Looking at how a lot of the high profile athletes work with sports psychologists to mentally get them prepared for the game, right? So it gets to the point where, you practice so much physically, you do the repetition, it becomes muscle memory, right? Well, if we can rehearse the things mentally, I can see myself making those critical plays in crunch time. And by the time when those things actually happen, I no longer have to think about what it is that I need to do, what play is going to happen naturally, because I've seen it. I've seen myself be successful in these moments. So I was like, yo, this is pretty cool. Like, maybe I'll do this.
Right.
And, we go through different processes. And I said, well, as I'm still trying to figure out what it is that I want to do, I have these different backgrounds in these different areas. I've thought about coaching, thought about being a general manager or being the owner of a team, and then coming to the realization, you broke, bro. Like, where you go get that money from to own the team? So then thinking of other things within that scope, right? So then I thought about, okay, well, maybe general manager, maybe athletic director.
Right.
And then being, now my master's degree, my master's program, having access to a Division I athletic director. I should go talk to him. Pick his brain. How'd you get to where you were? What were the things that you learned along the way? What tips can you pass along to me? And essentially, in my graduate assistantship, I was a athletic director for our club sports program. So we had I think we had like 40 programs. A couple competed at the national level. A couple who had won national championships. So we had a high profile program. And I was in charge of scheduling their practices, travel accommodations, league play. So essentially, I'm doing the work of an athletic director in certain extents where I now have exposure or knowledge of how to do these different sports related things, logistics, game day operations, player personnel. Like I'm getting hands-on experience doing these things. But then it came time to graduate, and it was like, okay, well, what do you do about jobs? And thinking back to my coach, don't allow yourself to be put in one specific box. So I applied for jobs everywhere across the country and relied on all of my experiences up to that point. So I applied for jobs in residence life. I applied for jobs in fraternity sorority life. I applied for jobs in campus recreation, athletics, facilities management, multicultural affairs. You only need one yes.
Right.
So I say all that to say that in pursuing that master's degree, the why behind it was because it was made realistic to me, because I saw somebody who did it. And I knew that it would open doors for me for the path that I decided to take.
Gotcha. That's amazing, man, because I even think about me now, just, trying to pursue out the business, pursuing my master's degree and of course working. Like one of my coworkers asked me the other day, was like, hey man, how's school going, man? Whatever. And I was just like, it's going good, man. I'm figuring out, start working in April. And he was like, oh, what you done? I was like, 2022, man. And it just see how so close 2022 is. And like, I had made a lot of changes. Like, hey, I was doing one thing, get my master's in, and I did something like you said, like that, like, why am I doing this? Like, what's the reason behind doing this? And kind of been trying to chase that now to say, make sure I'm doing the right thing, or like it feels right so that I won't like regret it type thing. So
yeah,
kind of been doing that. And also I would say back to your question, you going to school with your LBs, man, that's amazing. Because my LBs hold me down as well.
Yeah, man.
Because like I wanted to finish school, he's searching to be an athletic director as well. And like we just go back and forth and pick each other brain. Every time we get to it, kind of push everybody to try to get to the same place, or even higher than where we at. That's what we here for. So
man.
Shout out to Divine Nine, man. Like they're really saving my like good brothers, man. To be honest.
Absolutely.
Yeah, man. So like
that support system is real, man. You go through
your
educational pursuits and you have those moments like, why am I doing this, man? Or you don't get the test score that you think that you deserve, or we overslept or procrastinate, and then, oh wow, this assignment's due. I just got to throw something together, right? You have those moments, and then you also have that built-in measure of accountability. Right? So having my older cousin there, I consider him like my big brother, and then having my LB there, like we were pulling on each other. This assignment due, right?
It is done.
What's your progress like?
Right.
I saw you went out the other night. I guess we went out tonight because we were studying, right? And so being there for each other, man, just that encouragement when things don't go right. Right. So outside of the classroom, when life happens, or having somebody you can just talk to, those things were good, man. So not only was it good for, the academic pursuits, accountability there, but it was good for mental health, man. Having somebody who saw the struggle that you were going through, who could talk to the experience, could pick you up and validate you in those moments of self-doubt. It was deep, man. And those are the things that I know now that I have in language, right? We were playing those roles for each other without the terminology behind it, knowing that we were supporting one another's mental health.
That's amazing. So like, I would say that was full circle, to be honest. So like, so tell me about how you got into the realm of culture and diversity, and why is it so important to be involved in those things?
Yeah, I would say that this word found me. Being at this point in life now, it's almost like I had the opportunity to merge two worlds. Right. Growing up as this kid, wanting to be associated with the league, wanting to make it, because that's what I saw. Right? That's what we work towards. Want to be a professional player, and being this adult and navigating the field. First professional job was in housing, residence life, and part of my job also was the coordinator for multicultural affairs. And that's when I quickly realized this is a passion area of mine, because at that moment, I had a chance to be what I wanted from someone else when I was in undergrad, right? Someone that could hold me accountable, someone that would be accessible to ask questions if I needed them. Looking for those mentors, someone to keep it real with you. But then also somebody to advocate on behalf of you when you don't know that you need it, right? So giving the experience that I did have, providing the experience that I wish I had, and teaching the things that I've learned along the way. Having those one-off conversations that got me to the point of there are so many other people who can benefit from these types of conversations. So many other people who can benefit from knowing some of these things that I'm already giving to a small group of people. How can we open this up even more? And by working in Rest Life, it was a live-on position, so I'm living in halls with the students, eating in the dining halls because it's part of my package salary, so I get 3 meal plan. I'm in the athletic facilities because I get access to the gyms and stuff. So I'm hooping at lunch. Employees could play intramurals, so they can't mess with me in flag football. I'm like this person that's doing the things, and they're like, "Oh man, but we good. We can't be Mr. Brian." No, they couldn't. I'm faster than you.
Can't see me.
You can't see me, man. I'm older, but look, you still can get this work.
Right.
That's what I tell them. If it was on the court, if it's on the field, on the sticks, we playing Madden, we're gonna get this work. And I think that, by having that type of connection with them where they feel like they could be themselves, they were able to open up. Yeah. And then it also meant that there was a level of trust that was built. So when situations happened, they knew that they had someone to come to, someone that would advocate for them. And through that, I was able to kind of play that role that, the guy who came in for me my senior year. So it's almost like a full circle thing if I'm paying it forward, playing the role that he had in me of motivating them to see more in themselves, giving them something to look forward to. Here's how you navigate the process if you do want to go to grad school. Here's how you get it paid for. And you go for free. I didn't know those things. Right. So having a chance to do that, that was something that excited me. But then also, to your question about the professional, is recognizing the power of having someone in the room to ask the difficult questions.
Right.
That when things aren't comfortable, let's not shy away from it because it doesn't make us feel comfortable. Let's lean into it and ask, well, why is it? We're talking about, for instance, if it's retention rates, if it's recruitment, if it's a representation, you need people from diverse backgrounds to talk to these experiences, to educate people on the importance of, to talk about the benefits of having a diverse group of people thinking and focusing on this particular topic. Your answers, your outputs are going to be a lot different than if everybody comes from the same mindset, the same background, So for me, it was kind of goes back to that opportunity to merge that passion for football and playing ball with a passion for being the person that can bring about change, to educate folks, and doing it in a manner where I provoke thought. And I think that's the biggest piece, right? Like you get those who know the language, who are already ready out to go do the things. It's not going to take much for us to motivate them. We need them. Then you get the people in the middle who are trying to figure things out. Maybe for the first time they realizing, oh wow, things are different.
Right.
But I don't know what to say, or I don't know where to start or what to do. So I'm just going to hang out. But I value it. I'm going to need you. I got to work with you to bring you along. And then you have those who are over here who, for whatever reason, may not be interested in the conversation, may not be aware of it. I'm going to need you too. And that's where patience and intact will come into working with those individuals, right? I don't believe that anybody is unsavable. You got to cast people away. I think that it takes a certain approach. It takes a certain type of person to work with those types of people. And if we're talking about creating change, change is going to involve everybody,
Yes, sir.
right?
Yes,
So to reach everybody, it's going to take a level of patience to do that. And over the course of my career, I've been able to do that, finding that level of patience, of finding ways to humanize the conversation for different people, and being able to teach that. So having that DEI professional in the room creates opportunities to do that, to have these difficult, these insightful, inspiring conversations where we can start to shift the needle in any workplace culture or in society as a whole. We got to start talking about it.
got to. It need to be an ongoing conversation that day, man, because
Yep.
we had that conversation just a couple months ago, and I was the only black guy on my team, and we were sitting there, and it was crickets. And I was like, I gotta say something. Like they gotta know, like, what's up, man. And I didn't go too deep because it's work, but I did go deep enough for them to be like sending out emails. I didn't know you go through this. I didn't know this go on. Like,
Yeah.
I think what happened to George Floyd. I can't believe it. Like, and it's like this is the first time I feel like at work that I was able to voice my opinions on things about like they was like, did anything from work bother you? And I'm like, I just come in here and do my job. But yeah, it's things that you guys do that, affects me in a way that I can come out, but I do have somebody that I do talk to about these things. Like, hey, am I going by this right or this
Yeah.
right? Things like that. But I feel like it brought up the conversation for my team to know, like, this is what we face every day. I've been facing this before I even got here.
Yeah.
And also, that even leads to my next question, man. What's your it factor, man? Why you do what you do?
I do what I do because I feel like I'm called to do it,
Yes.
right? So you find your purpose when you do different things, man. I'm just a part of the journey. That there's work that needs to be done, and I look at myself instead of realizing or instead of asking, what can be done, who's going to save us in different situations, but more so, what do I have the means to be able to do? How can I start to impact change now? And that's when the people around me and those that are coming forward. So as it relates to an it factor, I think it's more of my vision of connecting with the people who were there and seeing what needs to be done and then doing something, right? Because it's bigger than us, man. I got a daughter. Everything that I'm doing now is to create a better, future for her.
Congratulations.
And other kids around her, man. So, becoming a father changed a lot of things. She is my why, right? Seeing her smile, trying to leave her a better world than it was when I was here. Teaching her the things that I've learned, things that I've been taught. And I think that being a parent also has helped me with that patient piece too, realizing that not everybody's going to get it right away. So, part of being an educator is recognizing how to present something in a manner that it can be digestible to people and they can, soak it up. And part of being an effective leader is knowing how to lead different types of people. And some people you can be very direct with. Some people you have to create those sandwiches of, I'm gonna teach you hard, I'm gonna lighten it, I'm gonna celebrate you, and I'm gonna give you some more, right? But at the end of the day, you're gonna know that there's a certain standard, there's a certain way of doing things. There's more to what you know. And I think that, in the areas of diversity, equity, and inclusion, there's a lot of learning that needs to be done by everybody. And there's a lot of unlearning. As children, we've been socialized and conditioned to see the world in particular ways. That comes from things that we see, things that we've been taught, things that we have observed, and those things start to shape your reality. If you've never had experiences with people who are different than you, whether that's race, religion, sexual orientation, ability status, socioeconomic status, and you have a very limited perspective on the experiences that are related to those people, right? And I think to your point, when you have that chance to talk to people, honest and genuine conversations where a relationship has established prior to, you can't just come up to a random person. So tell me what it's like to be black.
Right.
Tell me what it's like to be gay. Like, you can't do that, man. Right? Because it also comes off as, why do you want to know? Yeah. I'm not monolithic, so my experiences won't represent another person who looks like me's experiences. Right. You got to get to that point, man, where We question, why is it that I want to know this information? What homework have I done for myself, right? Before going out that. And then when you have a chance to get into a space where you can do like you all did, of, what is it like for you here? Have you encountered this? And now you're humanizing for them. Now it's going to hit a little different when they see these things because they know someone, they can associate a face with what's going on. Before, it was an abstract thought. You hear these things, you see it's, oh, it's so bad. Can't believe these things are happening. But now when you can put a face with that, like, oh wow, I didn't know Jeremy had to deal with that.
Mm-hmm.
He's a great person. He's very smart.
Right.
How would he have that type of experience? And I think when people have those moments, it started to change, right? We saw that here. When Me Too came, there were a lot of people looking different at their female identifying coworkers that said, wow, I didn't know you had to experience this. I never knew.
Mm-hmm.
That's the thing, man. We don't know what people are going through in their lives, man. And to assume is the worst thing that we can do in any situation. Talk to people, have some genuine conversations, even the ones that may be difficult to have. Relevant times, so much is going on right now. Have you checked in on the people around you?
Right, man, because I feel like a lot of people, they didn't check in until that day. And I'm like, this month's in, like it's stuff I deal with on the job, but it's like I can leave the job and I can be on TV the next couple hours. Like, oh, that's my coworker. It becomes real for you. You're like, I did not know that he could deal with it. And I'm an engineer, just like you, and we working in this thing, we doing our thing or whatever. But when I go home, I'm Jeremy, the black man. Like it is what it is. It's I would say I have done a lot of adapting to a lot of situations because of the things I have been through in my life, especially being from the South. Some of the things I have seen as a child, even like it just helped me to be the man I am today. So a lot of the things kind of like I take it by the sweat of my brow, man, and just say, hey, let me see how positively I can, approach this situation and let people know like this is what's going on. Even with the show, I just keep it real and just tell the truth. I feel like a lot of people try to like hide the truth on when they don't know something. And I like how you broke it down to say, hey, if you get comfortable with a person, you build a relationship with a person, it'd be easy to ask those hard questions. That's how you create change as well. So I respect that.
And you learn the person's intentions then, right?
Right.
So I know if you're asking these questions, it comes from a place that you really want to know. As opposed to, I don't know you. What would you do with this information? I'm not a petting zoo. Don't come in and try to do these different
I don't
things.
think we all the same either. Like that's another thing.
Exactly.
My other institution, like, it was a lot of like people that was like, I did not know that. Basically, like you could be this way. Like, you can talk well, or you can do this, or like you pass the stuff in class, or you ask some questions. It's like, why? I'm here just like you. I'm trying to get an education.
Right. I had a really good conversation with one of my former supervisors. He went to HBCU, and he was telling me how he would recount his experiences with some of his other coworkers and stuff. And he said, people don't think that HBCUs are diverse. They are. There are a lot of different types of Black people there, right?
Right.
You got your Black goths, you got your Black geek culture, you got your Black athletes, you got your Black music buffs, Black actors. Like there's so many different lanes that people will be in, but we only see what we see. So I'm gonna place you in this box, which is filled with limited experiences of what I've either seen or interacted with in the past, right? As opposed to who is this individual? What's important to you? Who are you?
Right.
Let's have some conversations where we can explore where our similarities are. Those things don't happen if we solely focused on here's who you are based on what I see. And what I see, I'm going to assume that that's the most salient piece of your identity. And that's where we go wrong, man.
You're right about that, man. So like, how has it been, now that you made your transition to work for the Indianapolis Colts over culture and diversity? How has that transition been?
It's been great. To have the support to ask questions, right? Have the support to do the things, and to also see that there is a will and mechanisms to continue to do the work. Yes. And that's what was important. Coming into the role, I was asking, will we be able to do what it is that we need to do? And how do we continue to avoid performative works? How can we create some sustainable change? And once you get in, you appreciate a lot more. right? So you see the things as a fan, you see the things from the outside, but once you get in, you see the people who have been putting in the work. You see the new hires across the league, different clubs. You make the connections with those people, and you hear about the people who are actually doing the work.
Right.
And for me, I'm a doer. So my approach has been so far, I need to meet as many people as I can before coming in and say, here's my plan, here's about to change everything, we're about to do all these different things. Let's do some assessment. What are we currently doing? What's going well? How are people, how do you feel about being here? Let's talk with everybody, because one of my focuses will be, let's take care of home.
Right.
We're going to do what we're going to do in the community. We're going to have the impact. We're going to be a vehicle for change. We're also going to take care of home because we have employees here. Outside of the players, we got employees that are here too.
Yes, sir.
So let's focus on these experiences. I need to hear it. I need to hear the experiences. Oh, this is the best place ever. And the people who aren't having those experiences. Because oftentimes when you hear, the stories of the disgruntled person or the person that isn't celebrating the place, we can cast those opinions aside. And I think that's in any organization. That's not say the cause, right? And, I've been at several different companies now and organizations, and not everybody's going to celebrate it in the same way. Right. And for me, one person not celebrating it is one too many. And you need to hear those stories as opposed to saying, oh, they're just negative. Why? I want to be the person that asks the critical questions. Why do we do things a certain way? Instead of looking at the statistics and making assumptions, why does the data show this way? Why is there over or under representation in these particular areas? And then what can we do to change it? How can we work with those who are having the negative experiences to salvage that experience for them, where now they feel like they can be a part of what change looks like, right? That their experiences can be seen, and now we can move forward. So I've tried to position us to continue to be proactive as opposed to being reactive.
That's deep.
So we're preparing for the next person who comes in after us that either looks like us or identifies the way that we do, that those experiences, that they would have been dealt with. And that person will have to deal with those same things. And you do that in a way by working with those people and working with people who are having the best experiences. So you can start to map out, here's what strategic planning looks like moving forward. There were some great programs and initiatives that were already in place. So let's keep those going. Let's boost them up. Let's bring in some different voices and some different perspectives. Let's add some different committees. Let's do some strategic partnerships with groups who are already doing the work, but haven't been seen or given a platform to elevate, right? Let's build.
I like that, man. I like that, man.
And having ownership that supports that. Like that's been critical. That's people who are saying, like, we brought you in and that's the end. Now leadership has been like, yeah, we brought you in, let's continue to do the work.
That's needed, man. I feel like that's needed all around, even outside of the NFL. Like, a lot of people need that. I work with a lot of people that just look at it as a job. They're like, man, I don't like them. Here, and it's like, oh, why? And then, like, you ask the why, it's like, support me, man. This so this ain't never happened like this.
Yeah.
But they just pay me, and it's like, oh, okay. And a lot of people just getting that point of just dealing with that instead of like, because they don't have no one like you to reach out to and say, this is what's going on, man. That's what I want to do, see better at this company or this organization. You know what I'm saying? So I feel like it's needed. So that even leads to the next question, man. So, like, what do you think needs to change for African Americans? I would say in the NFL and even in the world. Like, what would you say first?
That's a loaded question.
Yeah.
And I think it's going to differ based on the circumstances, situations, and industries. So at least at the league level, I think that's going to look different based on each team, how they move, what support looks like on those different teams, who's in positions of power to make change happen, what their philosophies are. And I can only speak from what I've seen within the Colts organization, right? That we're having the conversations that need to be had. We're willing to create the space to get uncomfortable.
Right.
And with those conversations comes an opportunity to educate. I can educate you on experiences and things that are important to me. I can educate you on here's why you should be concerned. Here's how this impacts you as well.
Mm.
So I think having those moments to have clear, honest, and transparent conversations without the fear um, um, of pushback or losing my job, for sharing how I'm feeling in the moment, for being transparent. So I think having more chances to have open and honest dialogue, that's something that needs to be done. That education piece, not only educating other people why things are important to us, but also us doing some education too. What are the rights that we have? What are the proper channels to report certain things or to push forward with change and what that looks like? Telling what my expectations are. You know, a lot of people get in roles and they don't really communicate what's important to them, what's bothering them. And I think we've been conditioned so much to just say that we're resilient and we'll overcome. That's in us, right?
Right.
But there are certain things that you can endure that you shouldn't have to. So how can we create a culture where people feel that they can voice what they're going through and they have people to support them or present it in a manner where people can understand it? Because I think oftentimes when we have conversations, there's things that are lost in translation. That if it's something that I'm passionate about, my voice may get a little raised because I'm passionate about it, right? I may speak with my hands, I may get animated, right? And by doing all of that, people can lose sight of what you're actually saying and focus more so on how you're saying it. So when you have someone else in there, like, this is what they're saying. This person is not animated. This person is not a threat. They're hurting. Mm-hmm. And we need to ask the questions why. And then what can we do? How can we start to change it? And then when you ask that, don't just look for the band-aid. We'll do this one fix and now everything's better. No, it's an ongoing thing. You got to reevaluate. We got to constantly look for opportunities to continue to stay ahead of it. Mm-hmm. Can't allow ourselves to feel comfortable or celebrate, like, look at us and what we've done, because there's still more to do. We can be happy for the changes that we see, the small wins that we have, but play the long game. And that's what this is about. Mm-hmm. So your earlier question, you asked, why is it important for to have diversity, equity, and inclusion professionals in the spaces to keep us on path for that. We're playing a long game. Diversity is a marathon. This isn't a sprint. Things aren't going to change like that, but there are some small wins and victories that you can pick up along the way, right, to show that progress is happening, to get that buy-in from people, to reignite some of those that may have lost hope, to show those who have said, I'm just here to collect a check. I don't care about these folks, like you say, right?
Yeah.
Like, I've worked at different places where that happens, and it gets to a point where I'm just going to accept what's going on. Let's shift that culture. Let's get to a place where you're happy to be here. We have that. We talk a lot about family. I'm a family-oriented person. Right. So having that represented throughout the organization has been a blessing to work in an environment like this, because we're allowed to do the things we need to do. We have the space to do it. So just continue to create the space, continue to have the conversations, and committing to doing the work that needs to be done. That's what I would like to see across the board. Commit to doing the work.
I like that, man. I like that. So, man, do you have any questions for me?
Yeah, man. So what's next for you? You got the pod. You've had some impressive folks come on, man. Mm-hmm. Where are you going? What's your life goals? What are you trying to do, man?
Life goal-wise is, to be honest, man, I'm trying to, once I'm done with my master's, I plan to be a college professor. That's one of my biggest goals, man. I want to do that so I can give back, man, and just be back in, like, helping people to learn, bro. I feel like that's one of my passions. And then also, like, having a show, I feel like I'm doing it in the sense of, like, just meeting new people, so that when I do get in these classrooms, I'm able to pull people in like you to have a conversation. Because I feel like growing up, I never got to see that. Like, you'll see somebody for a career fair and you're like, oh, that's cool that they do that. You never hear from them again. Versus you can turn on YouTube now. Got so much technology in front of us that you can just flip on my show and, it can change your day or change your life to where you can reach out to me, either be on the show or ask me how can I get in touch with you to meet you. So that's my type of thing that I'm trying to do, man. That's one of my biggest focuses, just create that change that we need, you know.
Man, and that's critical, man. Being the person that wants to take that step, right? That a lot of people are afraid to jump out there and to do something that's against the grain, or to do something that's different, or to say something that isn't as popular or widely accepted, right? And it takes that one person to do that for other people to say, oh, wow, this is something that can be done, or we should be doing these things, or here's a different way to look at something, right? Then you get the people who jump in there. Like you doing this, man, like it's going to help with representation. Seeing more avenues for people like me. I didn't know that this job even existed. I didn't know that there was so many other lanes within sports that can be achieved or that were attainable. Because I never saw them. I never saw people who looked like me in them. So I never thought that there were options. Right? I don't know what I don't know. And the more that we can start to see people in these different positions that we've never seen before, it's like, oh wow, I guess I could consider that. Maybe that is an option. And then the other piece, man, is utilizing our voice. When you see something, say something. If it don't feel right, how can you advocate for yourself? And then also recognizing that even when I say that, that comes from a place of privilege. A lot of people aren't in positions where they're comfortable or safe to speak up. So then if that's the case, then how can I advocate on behalf of someone else? I've observed these things. Here's how it makes me feel, right? Connecting with those other people that may not feel that they are at a point where they can't speak out. What's going on? How are you experiencing this right now? Are you okay? They cool, cool. But if they're saying I'm struggling, how can we work together to create change? As opposed to sitting back and say, hey, it's not my problem.
Right.
Or they'll figure it out on their own. Because one thing to keep in mind, man, is if they can do it to one particular group, then what's stopping them from doing it to anybody else? And that's another reason why I think that this position is so important, to really talk about the complexity of diversity, equity, and inclusion. It's deeper than just black, white. And there's a lot of intersecting identities, even related there.
Right.
So we have to understand that what harms one harms everybody. And when we uplift the most minoritized, then everybody benefits from that.
Sir.
So use our voices, man. They're powerful. And you doing that. So I appreciate you, man, and the work that you're doing.
And in that, bro, I'm gonna be honest with you, man. I just feel like we connected the last time, bro. When I started today, we just went into the show. I ain't even introduced you, man. And you're such a powerful person, bro. Like I even looked up some of your stuff on YouTube. Like I looked you up, like looking at stuff, I'm like, man, that's amazing. Got my girl watching. I'm like, baby, look, this so man, he part of the family. This so man, whatever. So like, man, go ahead and introduce yourself, man. And let people know who you are, man.
Jeremy, I appreciate you having me on the show. Viewers, Brian Richardson Jr. I am the inaugural director for diversity, equity, and inclusion for the Indianapolis Colts.
Yes, sir, man. That's amazing. Strong name, man. I'm proud of the things that I know that's gonna come. Not what you're doing now, but the things that are gonna come from just seeing you here today, man. Like you said, it's crazy, and we can end there. That's the end of the it factor. Cool.